Oh, hey, Jill here, and you're listening to Organized Chaos with Jill. I'm your host and mom of three, and this is the show where we chat all the mom things and then some. So grab your coffee or whatever it is that gets you through the day, and let's get to it. Hey guys, before we dive into the episode, I owe you all an apology. This week's episode was actually supposed to be last week's episode, and I thought I had it up and ready to go and didn't even realize that it never actually went through. So chalk it up to technical difficulties and then me not even realizing it in the morning and having mom brain. So I apologize that we did not get this episode out last week. So here we are. Without further ado, let's dive into episode 15. And this week's episode, I originally was going to do as a Monday mini-sode, but as I started to kind of take some notes, think about it, I felt like it was a little too much for a mini-sode. So I wanted to get on our regularly weekly episode and talk about this. And I'm going to be kind of gearing it specifically towards younger kids. And I say that because toddlers are picky, right? I mean, they are picky about what color plate they use, what color cup they have, if it's the right fork. Moms, if you know, you know, right? And toddlers can be very picky with food. It can be really hard to find, meal ideas or snack ideas. This is a topic that comes up a lot in the Facebook groups that I'm a part of online, different mom groups, or even just day-to-day conversations with other moms or caregivers. So I thought that it would be awesome to use this platform to give a little bit of ideas, share a little bit about how we are with our kids, and maybe it's a way that you can adjust something if your child is a really picky eater or if you're struggling with some meal ideas or something like that. I want to start off by saying, when we were talking about our kids and eating, not right when we got pregnant, obviously, and right when we had kids, because it's very different, obviously, when they're a baby. But when we started thinking about as the kids are getting older, one thing I think that was very important was I didn't want to have to be making multiple meals, right? I think that we do that a lot. And it can be very exhausting to plan one dinner, let alone two, right? So I wanted to really make sure that I always encourage my children to try what we are having for dinner. Now, obviously, I understand that that's not always a possibility. Sometimes there's allergies. I myself have food allergies. Sometimes, when you're in certain areas, you're buying something and it's not enough for everybody, or you have two separate things. I get it. There's a million different, ways that you're not always going to have the same meal, and that's totally fine too. But I didn't want to feel like I was in a place where if we took the kids somewhere to somebody's house, they had to worry about cooking two different things, or I had to worry about making two different dinners or anything like that. So that was just something that was just really important. I think I kind of just started my mom mentality of, I'm going to give my kids what I'm eating. And honestly, I think that stems from partially even me growing up. I remember my mom, always telling me that, it didn't matter what she gave me. I always wanted what was on her plate. So maybe that, stuck with me in my subconscious. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And so I like to always give my kids something to try. Sorry, I totally paused when I talked like that. I don't know why I just did that. I was having a little brain freeze there. When we cook dinner, when we make dinner, or if we buy something, out at the store to try, we always make a plate with everything on it, for the boys specifically. Anna is just now starting to get into the phase of eating real people food. But for the boys, as I mentioned, they're in that toddler age, they're 2 and 3. I put everything on their plate, and we really encourage them to try it. One thing, this happened actually very recently. James is convinced that the only mac and cheese in the world is the Blue Box Kraft mac and cheese. That's the best. He doesn't like anything else. I get it. Let's be honest, the Blue Box is the best, right? But That being said, sometimes we do buy other mac and cheese, and we had bought some mac and cheese. William will eat it no matter what kind of mac and cheese it is. He's our carb king, but James automatically said, I don't like that. And we made sure that regardless of what he said, he still tried it. He ended up not liking it, but this is like my little mom tip, right? Encourage to try. And I'm going to throw another tip here. Don't just do it once. I grew up always hearing you must taste everything at least twice. And what I do is, we had it again in the same mac and cheese another time. I put it on his plate. He instantly said, I don't like that. And I know in my mind, I know he didn't like it the first time, but I said, that's okay. Sometimes things change. So let's try it again, because they do change. And here's where I kind of want to circle back and backtrack. A lot of times I've noticed with kids, and I've noticed from other conversations, is like they might love a certain food, and say they love broccoli, and you're getting it, they're eating it, it's awesome. And then literally the next week they're like, heck no, not for me, right? It's frustrating, but kids are still learning and growing, and so are their palates and their appetites and things like that. And I think here we sometimes forget that there could be like a science behind something. And think about, for me, there's foods growing up that I said, nope, hard pass, not going to eat it, never going to eat it, it's disgusting. That now, as I'm older, have no problem eating, actually like it, what was the big deal, right? But that's our bodies and our brains kind of learning what we like and growing, and palate changing, appetites changing, things like that. Toddlers are no different, right? They're still growing, learning, and all that stuff too. So that's why I do encourage that try everything twice, or 3 times or 4 times. I mean, I'm pretty sure every time we get this mac and cheese, I'm going to put it on James's plate, because there could be that small chance that one day he's going to take it and be like, actually, this is really good. And so, that's my little tip there, to encourage just trying new things and to keep trying them. Don't give up hope that maybe they'll change their mind one day. And then also, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What's happening today? I think this is a big thing. As parents and as moms, we want to eat our own food, right? And a lot of times you always hear the phrase like, oh, you won't like it, it's spicy. Please stop. That is my tip. Stop telling kids your gummy bears are spicy. Granted, I don't want to share my gummy bears either, right? But I think that that's giving this narrative to kids and projecting them that you're not going to like it because it's spicy. And then when they do come across the food later in life, even, it's like, I don't like it, it's spicy, even if they've never tried it. Now, both of my kids have had buffalo chicken, have had spicy things. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't, depending. But I still let them try everything. And like I said, I know it's like the go-to, like, oh no, you won't like this because it's spicy, because we don't want to share, right? But share your food if you can. Try. Or there's other ways to say, maybe like it's a treat and you're like, oh no, this is a grown-up treat right now, but you can try some later, something like that. So it's not really like off-putting certain foods to kids, because I think that children really absorb everything we say, and I think that that will stick with them. So again, there's not necessarily science behind this. Like I always say, I'm not a professional, I'm just a mom, but this is something that I've kind of noticed, and I think that it's important as our kids continue to grow and learn and change their palate. So I wanted to also talk about snacks. Toddlers especially, I swear they don't want meals, they just want a snack all day long. We will have just eaten breakfast and the boys ask for something. And I don't know if there is a science behind that. Like, anyone out there that does know that stuff, let me know, because they are like snackaholics. And I feel like this is a common theme that I've seen with a lot of kids. I am a mom that, yes, I love the goldfish and the, fruit snacks. My kids have that stuff. But I also try other things, we really push a lot of like fruit, healthier options, things like that. And I think here, my mom tip is kind of going to be make food fun. And I will shout out to my husband here for this, because he was the one that kind of started this with our kids, and now I do it, on the day to day. But whenever the boys ask for fruit, a banana, oranges, apples, whatever it is, he will turn it into like a smiley face or an animal on the plate. You don't need to be a Picasso. It's very easy to use a banana as a smiley face and, slice up an apple, make eyes, but makes it fun so that they almost forget they're eating like healthy, good stuff, and it's just silly to them. Kids love anything silly, right? So I think that that's my trip here, is to make food fun for them, because then it keeps that like healthy food and those other alternatives aside from those quick on the go snacks that are not necessarily the best for them. And it makes them want it. Like, I will say the boys ask for fruit a lot. And I think part of that is because we do make it fun for them. And berries, obviously, because I have not met a child that does not have like a crazy blueberry addiction. But yeah, so that's my takeaway there with the snacks. I wanted to move forward in this episode and kind of just talk about some of the meals that we do. I don't want to focus too much on snacks because I think that for the most part, everyone kind of has a grasp on snacking. And like I just talked about the fruit and things like that. But I think the biggest feedback and the biggest comments that I get in conversation are meals and what kids will or will not eat. So I kind of wanted to just share some meals that we do, things that the boys really like, and then maybe it'll, help you guys or whatnot. But so we're just going to kind of break it down by breakfast, lunch, dinner, I guess you could say. Breakfast for us, if we're not going to Bagel Place, typically I make waffles or bacon, eggs, and toast. Bacon, egg, and toast are like our thing on Sundays. My husband always makes it for us, and the boys love it. James especially, because he is a meat eater and he loves the bacon. But that's just kind of a staple breakfast. Other than that, we have waffles and fruit. I've made French toast, even something basic like, this is totally nostalgic for me, but like the toast with cinnamon sugar, stuff like that. James loves that. They both do. It doesn't have to be anything big. My kids are not huge breakfast people in that aspect. And I mean, neither are my husband and I. So maybe they kind of get it from us, but you do want to, especially depending on the day, have them start their day with something good, right? So that's kind of a breakfast basic. And then obviously we do go out to breakfast sometimes. We have a couple places locally that are really nice that the kids behave in for the most part. And it's, fun little things, waffles, pancakes, things like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. When it comes to lunches on like our basic day-to-day, it varies. Yes, we do chicken nuggets or chicken tenders sometimes. I usually always have those in the freezer. There is nothing wrong with that. I know that's a lot of kids' favorites. Heck, I love chicken nuggets. I try to pair it with like a veggie or even like some blueberries on the side to make sure I'm not just giving them chicken nuggets and ketchup. But another option that the kids love are hot dogs. They also really like fish sticks and mac and cheese, so long as it's the blue box if you're James. But those are kind of our day-to-day lunches. We've gotten into peanut butter and jelly sandwiches lately. When we go to the beach, it's usually sandwiches, stuff like that. But yeah, that's our lunches. And then dinners, for the most part, I want to feed them, like I said, the same meal that I'm making for dinner. It doesn't always work out like that, just based on my husband's work schedule. And sometimes I have to feed them before going to pick him up from work. So depending what the meal is, they're not always getting the same. But when I do crock pot meals, even like spaghetti and meatballs, I throw my meatballs in the crock pot early in the day so that when I'm making dinner, all I have to do is make spaghetti. My boys aren't even huge spaghetti fans. I mean, sometimes they enjoy it from time to time, but I at least will have the meatballs ready. So they will eat the meatballs. Then that's kind of having the same thing for dinner. The boys also love pizza night. They've recently gotten into grilled cheese and tomato soup. I have done that for lunch as well, depending on the day, especially now it's wintertime here. It's a little bit of like a cozier comfort food meal. They really like that. Trying to think other foods that we like in terms of takeout. The boys really like lo mein. They call it Chinese sketty. But again, like we'll get like a beef teriyaki or something. So it's like a basic steak. The boys like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's anything special in terms of dinners. I'm just kind of sharing what our kids like. But like I said at the top of this episode, I think that it's very important to just give them a little bit of everything. Encourage them to try the food, because as much as they might say, I don't want it, I don't like it, even when it's something they've never had before, I think just encouraging to try and to keep trying every time that you have it or get it will help them explore new foods. And so that's kind of my biggest tip for you. I know I've said it a bunch of times already throughout this episode, but I think that that's a biggest takeaway. Food is everyone's favorite topic, right? We all love to eat, love snacks, love a good meal. And it can be very discouraging sometimes with toddlers. Like I said, this episode is very focused on young eaters. And I think that we need to try to take a breath, easier said than done, not get too frustrated, and continue to encourage so that their palate can continue to grow. And also, like I said, try to make things fun for them, especially those like healthy options that nobody wants to eat, or make like they don't want to think that they're eating something good for them because they like treats. So those are my two biggest kind of mom tips, I guess you would say, when it comes to food and toddlers. So we're going to wrap up the episode here. I know it wasn't a super, super long one, but like I said, it was a little bit too much for a Monday mini-sode. Again, I apologize that this didn't pop up last week. I'm not sure really what happened. And then also, I want to remind you guys that next week is Thanksgiving. We do not have an episode coming out. I hope you all have an amazing holiday, whether you spend it with friends, family, whatever you do. Have fun, and we will catch you back the following Thursday. Have a great one. Be sure to like, follow, and share this podcast. And if you aren't already doing so, follow us on Instagram at Organized Chaos with Jill. We'll have all the latest updates, upcoming episodes, and more. Have a good day.